Okay, good evening, everyone. I just couple of guidelines before we begin our meeting. First off, if you intend to speak during public comment, please come up and sign prior to 7:45. The sheet is up here in front of our town clerks. Second, there are exits, 2 behind you and 1 out behind us to your right, our left. I'd like to call the January 22nd, 2018 Town of Monroe Board meeting to order. If we can all please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everyone. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from January 3rd, 2018. If everybody has had a chance to read them, we will need a motion.
I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay. I'm going to take the cheerleaders and we're going to move you up right now. This way you can get home, do your homework, and get tucked in bed.
Mr. Supervisor.
But, go ahead.
Mr. Supervisor. This town has been around for a very long time, but I have to admit that this may be the first time in history that the town supervisor brought his own cheerleading squads.
There may be some truth to that.
I beg to differ.
Well, we're here tonight to acknowledge the accomplishments, and if you could just hold your applause till the end. I intend to read all the names off of each girl, so if you could hold that applause to the end as well, that'd be great. Pop Warner this year had 2 teams that advanced to the cheerleading nationals in Orlando, Florida. The junior varsity girls, there was 21 of them. They were county champs. They were Empire State champs. They placed second in the region, in the Eastern region, to go to the nationals in Disney. And it's their second time this level advanced to the nationals, where they finished 4th in the nation.
Wow, incredible.
We have the junior Pee Wee girls, who were also county champs, also Empire State champs, and who also finished 2nd in the Eastern region, qualifying them to go to the nationals in Disney. In Disney, they placed 4th in the nation as well, and they were the youngest team Monroe Woodbury has ever sent to the nationals. So it's a great accomplishment, girls, and our town is proud of you, and we wanted to. We wanted to acknowledge those accomplishments because we know there's a lot of dedication, effort, hard work, and time and commitment that you put in each and every day during cheerleading. I have firsthand knowledge of it because I had 2 of my girls that cheered in Pop Warner. So it's a great accomplishment. I'm just going to read real quick off the rosters. So this is the junior Pee Wee group. The coaching staff and administration was made up of Nicole Ferraro, Elaine Caruso, Lena Nelson, Marianne Nelson, Angela Traiana, Riley Sikoriak, Michaela Donnelly, Anastasia Nelson, and Ted Nelson. The cheerleaders were Abigail Arias, Madison Benitez, Brianna Blazek, Valerie Campbell, Kyla Caruso, Mia Corsello, Julia DePaulo, Jillian Devine, Victoria Esposito, Caitlin Estevez, Brianna Fall, Jessica Fall, Gianna Ferraro, Lila Gary Ramos, Natalie Guglielmello. Good thing I'm Italian, I understand how to read these names. Megan Haight, Alexis Heck, Madison Jackson, Ariana Jimenez, Crystal Jimenez, Sophia Mantaneo, Monica Maxwell, Rowan Matola, Angela Paraglia, Melissa Richardson, Isabella Romano, Kaylee Sanchez, Jacqueline Sikoriak, Sophia Tavares, Giovanna Traina, Taylor Waters, Lily Wololnik, did I say that right? Sorry. And Emily Zrelak. Congratulations, girls. Now the junior varsity team, the coaching staff and administration is Darlene Whitfield, Mark Chapman, Kayla Friedman, Danielle Panzica, Lauren Friedman, Hannah Whitfield, Ted Nelson, and Dana Quinn. The cheerleaders, Christina Banville, Haley Chapman, Isabella DiBianco, Ariana Eisner, Madeline Finnegan, Carolina Mazuka, Gianna Miali, Phoebe Miali, Gianna Panzica, Ellie Petkov, Danielle Prozia. I said that wrong? Tell me, how do you say it, Danielle? All right, Danielle Proza. Jordan Rosenholtz, Cassidy Schaefer, Jessica Sullivan, Emily Tavares, Brooke Tatevsky, Layla Thornton, Ava Tomford, Audrey Whitfield, Sophia Yoon, and Gabriella Zinko. Congratulations. Now I understand Mr. Nelson had said some of you girls wanted to address the board. Just pull the mic down, hon.
There you go.
Just tell us your name and...
Good evening. I'm Audrey Whitfield, and I'm on the Pop Warner Junior Varsity Cheer Team. Monroe Woodbury Pop Warner Cheerleading would like to thank all of the people in our town who helped us get to nationals.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gianna Ferraro. I am from Chester. Without the support and the generosity of our neighbors and local businesses, our dreams of going to nationals may never have come true.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Haley Chapman, and on behalf of the Junior Peewees and Junior Varsity squads, we thank you so much, and we're proud to represent our wonderful town.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, I would ask that list of names so I can include all the girls' names in the minutes, so they'll be in the town history forever.
Mary Ellen, can we also put their names on Channel 22?
Okay, one other thing before you leave, girls. We have a little surprise here. January, if you don't know, is National Mentor Month. And many of us, everyone in this room, probably had either a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a friend, or a family mentor who was instrumental in what we became when we, as adults, when we were growing young, when we were young. I'd like to acknowledge tonight, we would like to acknowledge tonight, your Commissioner of Cheer, Ted Nelson. And you know, it takes a village, it takes a community, and the teamwork that you have displayed is evident in what Ted has done over the last 10 years, 11 seasons, but 10 years. Ted started in 2008 and jumped right in head first as a cheerleader coach. He became the Commissioner of Cheer in Monroe. He's on the Rockland County Board, which is the league that Monroe plays in, as Director of Communications. He knows the cheer rule book inside out. And 2 years ago, Ted was also nominated and received the award for the Rockland County Pop Warner Volunteer of the Year. And when we spoke at our reorg meeting in January, we all spoke about the impact that people in our community have to make our community a better place. And when I went up to the county legislative meeting earlier this month, that's really when I found out about the January being Mentor of the Month. So without any further ado, we'd like to present Ted with a plaque. And the plaque says, the town of Monroe gratefully acknowledges the volunteer efforts of Ted Nelson, presented January 22nd, 2018. I have never...
For you guys,
Thank you, Teddy.
I would have earned this.
Thank
So if you girls and moms and dads want to go home, you're more than welcome to. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
You want to stay here till 1 o'clock?
You're welcome.
And don't forget, practice tomorrow bright and early, everybody.
5-minute recess.
Yep.
Hey, where's the Tony Chief?
Yeah, there's no Tony Cheer.
What's that? Yeah, I mean, listen, you go to the Nationals and you figure fourth
Yeah,
in the
Tony, you
nation.
want to break 5 minutes?
Yeah. That's all right. Okay. Next, there are no budgetary transfer or amendments, so next on the agenda in old business is Bald Hill Estates Water. Would you like to comment on that, Mr. Nugent?
The Bald Hill Estates water is been an ongoing request for the town to establish a water district is what they're looking for, or otherwise an indication that we will not establish a water district and they want to establish a private water company. So, this has been something that off and on. I believe the last time we dealt with Bald Hill, the plan was with the engineer to have them design the system so that it would be capable of being adopted as a water system and putting in whatever infrastructure the town would want. I honestly don't know where that stands, but this is another letter requesting the town create a water district. So we would need, input from the engineer, and if that was the direction the town wanted to go in.
Does anybody have any particular feelings on it?
I don't think the town's in a position to form a water district right now. I understand there will be language in that development that should in the future the town is in a better position to form a water district and to oversee the obligations involved with the water district, that it would be easier to be done. So I don't think right now to form a water district is the right idea.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Mary. First of all, I think they're looking for an answer by February 1st, right? So we're kind of up against a stiff deadline, and I think we'd have to look at the totality of the whole water table over there before we took it over, because I think what they're kind of saying is, hey, you could use also, it could be used for Bald Hill Estates, but you could also use it for other future developments, and I'm not quite sure, the water table would support that, and I think we really need an in-depth study before we went down that road. So I'm really not in favor of it at this point either.
Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay. Move on. Next item is Bailey Farm Road. There was a meeting between John Cherney, Mayor Welly, myself, and John Mulligan, the highway super from the village of Harriman. There seems to be a philosophical agreement in place to open Bailey Farm sometime in mid-spring. There is currently about under $10,000 that we estimate it would cost us to open it up. It would be a one-way coming out. Wait, no, it was a one-way going in. One-way going in, I'm sorry. And no egress from it,
Except for emergency vehicles.
except for emergency vehicles.
And that's coming from Melody Lane into target area.
Right.
Right.
So, John is in the process of obtaining pricing for the signs. Harriman is in the process of obtaining pricing for the striping. Already, Harriman has ended up repairing a curb or curbs over there, and they also cleaned out both the towns and the village's catch basins already. So it's moving forward. We'll give you an update as soon as we get any more information. Is there anything you want to add?
Signs are ordered.
Signs are
I
ordered.
ordered the signs already.
Okay.
So, and they'll be up before, we could black bag them.
Right.
So that they could be up and in place, and then when they're ready to open, then they could, take the bags off them.
Okay, thank you. And there was a large number of signs as far as the diversity of them, correct? There was about 7 different ones? No left-hand turn, no right
left-hand
turn?
no, do not enter, right turn only.
Yeah.
Probably 15 signs altogether,
Okay,
right in that ballpark. I don't have the list in front of me.
okay.
Stop and read.
Anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that's a project that's been ongoing for years, and I'm glad that we're finally being
Yeah.
able to proceed and make it that one way.
Yeah, good. Okay. The next two items, I will defer to Mr. Nugent, our library contract and payment. I know our payment is traditionally not been made till after February 5th, or our first meeting in February.
February 5th, a few years ago, the town board made a resolution that the fire district contract and the library would not receive their money till February 5th. That gives me time as the tax collector. By law, I have to pay off the town first. So that gives us the time to make sure that everything is in order.
Okay. Any other thing you'd like to add?
No, I mean, if the board wants to authorize you to execute the agreement subject to approval of our office, you can make a motion to do that tonight with the payment to be made after February 5th.
Okay. Any?
I'll make a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute and sign the library contract.
I'll
with
second
the
that.
payment to follow February 5th or thereafter.
All right, I'll second that for you.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
All right.
Aye.
So moved. Ambulance contract, which I understand is a little trickier.
Yeah, Supervisor, the ambulance contract has been tricky for 2 years now. There hasn't been a formal contract. Initially, the ambulance corps indicated that for the 2016, we would execute the same agreement we had in prior years with language that we would review the issue of fees and who was responsible or ultimately accountable for fees that were collected. We drafted the contracts. The ambulance corps then rejected the idea of signing the 2016 contract, and they were basically looking to change it altogether to remove references to the general municipal law, section 122B, which is the provision under which those contracts were established. We have been back and forth with legal counsel for the ambulance corps. Most recently, we wrote a letter, basically asking them to provide authority for their position, which they have not done yet. They provided briefs from a case upstate they had that didn't really support their position, so we're looking to execute the contract with the language that we included, and we're waiting for a response from their counsel right now on the town's position or what their response is.
Okay.
So we're basically out 2 years, and we need to now look at the 18 contract, so we hopefully just wrap it all up, with all 3 years, with whatever the resolution's going to be.
Okay, so to me, it seems as though and this is not any reflection on the workers, it seems to be a hold-up with their attorney.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue about, and it's an issue in other ambulance corps, it's about the fees that get collected. I think the other issue in this town was that, as I recall, Mr. Martin had indicated that the town did not have the financials of the ambulance corps. And the town, even under the existing agreement, is supposed to have the financials to see what's being collected, you know, because you're funding the ambulance corps on a budget, yet you don't know what they have in assets due to collection of the fees. So that was the other holdup, and I don't know if that information was ever given to the town, but that's something that has to be looked at in order to be able to finalize these agreements.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
Yeah, I think you know, again, we as a community we support with the EMTs and
Absolutely.
with their executive board and what they do, and they do a great job here. But you know, this is obviously something we've got to get squared away.
Okay. All right. Next item, Boathouse and Monbassia Park. I've been approached, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but I've been approached by someone who, current town employee, who has interest in overseeing it, both the Boathouse and the Monbassia Park. It's someone who has an extensive amount of experience in this type of work, and I think that we should discuss this in detail in executive session, because I think there should be a small stipend associated with it. It's something that will go from, let's say, April through October. So you're talking 7 months. Yeah.
October?
You're talking well, maybe not the Boathouse, but Monbassia Park is still going to be used.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, soccer season.
Yeah, soccer and baseball still. You got fall baseball.
Yeah.
So we could discuss that in ES. Etzkayam, we have preliminary plans. If anyone wants a copy, I'd be happy to give my copy up for Etzkayam. We're in the process of getting cost estimates to move forward with this, and we're also trying to set up a meeting with our judges to go over the court layout. Presently on the plan, the court clerks do not have an office, but there is room for a little expansion just as you walk into Etzkayam on the left-hand side. And it's something that will comfortably fit 3 court officers. There was an extensive amount of work put into it. On the plan currently, there's actually 13 juror seats. We only need 8. We're not doing any federal cases, so some modifications will be made there, and the judges have also requested the possibility of exploring a personal bathroom for court and judges. The layout is such that when you walk into the worship room at Etzkayam, basically where the up against the front wall of Etzkayam, which is where the stone is, currently that's a proposed juror's room. That may be adjusted depending upon how much space we gain from adjusting the juror's box. There's also a juror's separate entrance, and there's separate entrance for our judges and potential prisoners who would pull up and be somewhere between 12 to 18 feet away from the entrance to their holding area, and then they would actually exit the holding area and go right to the defendant's bench or table with their attorney. So there's a lot of tweaks that we could do with this, and we're not going to rush to judgment on it, but I think it's a great start. Andy Warren from MHE has been really diligent in moving this along, And we're in the process, like I had said, if I said it before, I think I said we're in the process of setting up a meeting for the judges so that they can have their input in it. The town offices, right now, the way it's laid out, upstairs, you'd have your town clerk's offices. There'd be 2 offices there, one for the deputy clerks and one for the town clerk. There'll be a finance office upstairs. There'll be a conference room, an office for the secretary to the treasurer, and an office for the supervisor. The meeting room would also entertain a permanent dais that would be built in. The cost of this, once we get the estimates, we will let everyone know. But we have also applied through Senator Larkin, and we're probably going to apply through the county for some funding. And Senator Larkin was very instrumental in getting us $275,000 for the sweeper that we lost through a fire. And that was done basically by John Sherney. He took the bull by the horns and initiated all that and set up the meeting with Senator Larkin. So that sweeper was delivered, and although you haven't used it yet, I know guys are antsy to use it, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions on that, please express them during public comment. Does the board have anything that they want to add?
No, I just going to look over and make some suggestions like everybody else, and that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. We've got some great news today. Our highway department approved the contract that was discussed last Friday. Mr. Colon and myself, along with Mr. Nugent, our counsel, had a meeting. We hashed out an agreement that was very amicable, we believe, between both parties, and they approved it. So we need a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign that contract.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Long overdue.
Long overdue.
Long overdue.
Yeah. You should.
Lots of drama over.
Yeah,
Council, should I
just a little.
discuss the details, the basic details in it?
You can.
Okay. So it's a 4-year contract going back to January 1st, 2017, and the payouts are as follows: 0% for last year, 4% for 2018, and then 2019 and 2020 are 2% each. We also added clothing that the town will provide the highway department so that everyone can look uniform. It was something that both I think their union rep and the town wanted, so that everybody looks uniformed. The uniforms will be a yellow. John, what's the term they use for that? It's
There's fluorescent. There's different types of striping.
There's a safety. What's this? What's that?
It's high visibility.
Okay, yeah, right. I'm sorry. Yep, high visibility clothing, so that our men can be protected. So, without any further ado, we want to act on it.
Yeah. Call the question.
Call the question.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. We need to appoint a delegate and alternate delegate for the Association of Towns in February.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Do you want to do it, or?
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
I'll
whatever.
make a motion that.
We're both. You're going, right?
Yeah.
I'm going. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Make him the delegate.
Okay. Make a motion that nominate
No, that's all right.
supervisor for to be the delegate and Councilman Cologne to be the alternate.
Second.
Mary?
I'll approve.
No, we're looking for a second.
I'll
We're looking
second.
for a second. That's
Sure.
All right. Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so moved. I'm going to, Town of Monroe Democratic Committee use of the Senior Center meeting room. So essentially, we have to discuss the costs associated with this because nothing was ever implemented last year. At the,
I thought we,
well,
was
it
like
was,
50
but
bucks
I
or
shouldn't
something?
say implemented, but we didn't, nothing I believe was ever collected, right, Mary Ellen?
No, nothing was ever collected.
Okay. And it currently stands at 50 or 75?
I believe it was 50.
I believe it was 50. Right?
Yeah.
I'd have to look back and see what it was.
I
Okay.
kind of remember that 50 was the number.
Okay. So essentially, we're going to stay put with that? I mean, there's no need.
Well, I mean, you have the two major parties. I mean, they used to use it as long as they clean up after themselves. There was never a cost involved unless there's something that has to be done. But you know, all of the parties, all of the political parties, and now we have, you know, United Monroe as well as the Republican and Democrat. A small group of working families, if they need to use it, they've always used to put in for it at no cost, as long as they put the room back into the same condition as they found it and make sure that they clean up after themselves. It was never an issue.
Yeah, I think the issue that came up last year was the electrical and HVAC costs
No, okay.
that might be associated with it. And I don't think we wanted to put that on the taxpayers.
No.
No, never did. That's why I'm asking.
You guys want to require certificates of insurance from the groups? If they are, in fact, an entity?
Would it be prudent if we did?
I mean, typically, if there's an entity versus some kind of, you know, community group that may not be a formal, you know, corporation or something, but usually if it is an entity like a corporation, we would
Yeah,
want
but
to
they're
see
not
a
none of them
certificate.
incorporated, I don't think. They're
Yeah,
just like,
I think they're more like clubs than actual incorporated
yeah, they don't
entities.
really have much dues either way. So.
Yeah, so I mean, if they're not an actual entity, they probably will not be able to get you that, but
No.
for those groups that are, they should be able to provide you with it.
Should we have a waiver signed then for those that don't have insurance?
Well, that could
Yeah,
be part of
they-
the process of, you know, allowing them to use the room.
Right,
There
that
could
they
be
would
a
hold the
document.
town harmless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of their meetings, if they keep them under 2 hours, we can probably make it 25 if you want. I don't know if the Republicans use this or not, but or any of the other groups. What do you want to do?
Yeah, listen, whatever the board sees fit, I'm open here. Do you want to make a motion to
Make a motion
change
to make
it?
it. I'll make a motion to make it 25.
We need a second.
Nobody?
No, I'll second it.
All right.
I think that's, you know,
I mean, it's only what a
some of the
couple
lesser
hours.
parties may not be able to swing the 50.
They
you know?
may not. Yeah,
You know,
they're small and they don't really collect much. So
Okay. Call the question?
no.
Aye.
I
Okay, so moved.
Anyone shows up anyway. So.
5.9, I'd like to hold off. Oh, no, he's here. I'm sorry. Judge Milligram, would you like to come up to discuss the request for Teresa Doyle to be changed from part-time to full-time position of clerk?
Good evening. I was hiding in the back.
Yeah,
All right. Your Honor. Good evening, Your Honor.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you all know, I hope, our court has been working on short staff with two full-time court clerks now for several years. This past several months ago, we hired a part-time clerk, Teresa Doyle. Her credentials are known to the board. She's extremely well qualified. She's doing an excellent job. The workflow is still increasing in our court. Quite frankly, I've gone in on weekend nights, and one of my clerks may be there catching up on paperwork because they're so busy with people coming to the window who have to be addressed. So at this point, we believe the court needs to have another full-time clerk. We'd like to convert Ms. Doyle to a full-time position. Because she is a retiree from the county, she is the former deputy commissioner of jurors. There is a limit on her income that she can that's accessible, and I think I mentioned that to the board in the submission. So that would be my request and my recommendation. We need a third person in there full time. Now, especially with Judge Schwartz sitting, there's now two judges whose accounts and paperwork and books have to be kept track of. And the court has gotten, I can attest to you from my own knowledge, the court's gotten busier since the holidays, as I think I've been out pretty much every night for an arraignment for our court. And that's, even if it's not that's going to stay in our court, the clerks have to handle paperwork.
Hey, Judge, can I ask you a quick question?
Ask me a long question.
All right. How is this? I know the county is supposed to be going to this 24-hour arraignment concept that the state kind of thrust upon us. I think that's sometime this summer. I was talking to the DA. I think July 1st is supposed to be the kickoff. Is this going to impact the workload of the clerks, or not really, because that's going to be done at a central location? Or
well, they don't know yet who's going to staff the arraignment part.
I heard it's going to be the town judges or the mix. Yeah, it's not just the county court judges.
Sorry to bother you, Judge. I called 12 other judges. I couldn't get anybody last night.
A week rotation or something like that.
You got to go to Port Jervis.
They're talking about rotating the judges. I don't know how many judges or how many shifts. It's going to be a 24-hour shift. I think even theoretically the county or the state is supposed to pay us a stipend for being there. I don't know if that'll happen. Lord knows, in any event. But we don't know who's going to handle the paperwork on the clerical side. We may have to bring or rotate court clerks in from the various courts. And our clerks are still going to have to handle the paperwork from any arraignment that gets done for our court. The papers will end up there, and the paperwork for that will be done. And remember, it's not just criminal cases. They handle traffic matters, and they also handle civil cases, as well as zoning matters or building matters for the town as well. So it's a variety of things, and at this stage, the workload is such that we believe it's necessary. We've done as long, and it will. I believe it will reduce some of the overtime as well.
That was my question, so you answered it. Thank you.
Obviously, I don't know. I can't guarantee you that because we're working in a backlog. But I believe it will reduce some of the overtime.
Okay.
So are we basically looking to keep her at the same hourly, but have her
there's a salary I've recommended. If you want to talk, I don't think that should go here.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation. I don't know what the hourly works out to be. I didn't do the math.
Judge, is there a number per hours per week in there in your documents? Would it be 35?
I believe it would be 35.
Okay, and are you
this
looking
person
to get
would not? This person would not get overtime. It would not be working overtime.
Would this be a new full-time position and leave the part-time position on the list, or in other words, for civil service?
This is replacing the part-time.
All right, so we're taking that position and changing it to full-time.
Correct, because I think Rick will remember when I started. We had 4 full-time clerks, and I believe we had another person who came in on a part-time basis as well.
You've actually cut down staff to half than what it was before previously, so you're only going back up to what it was.
Actually, we're less. We're still.
You're still less, yeah.
Yeah, I believe he emailed me. Yeah.
And quite frankly, we've talked about this over the years. We've tried to manage as best we can. I think this has gotten to the point just for a combination of the well-being of my court staff and the functioning of the court. We need this to have. We need this in place.
Does she presently receive benefits from her retirement?
Yes, she will not require. My understanding is that she will not require any benefits from the town.
Okay.
I don't know from a civil service standpoint if there's something we have to do for her because of that. But my understanding is that she will not need benefits, nor will she be getting any overtime. It'll be just strictly whatever the salary amount is.
Do you know? Could you answer that, Mr. Nugent?
Well, there's nothing you have to do with civil service. I mean, the salary is going to be the salary.
I mean, I guess the question, for example, if you have a town employee who waives the available town benefits, does that have to be some way? Are they compensated in some fashion for that? I don't know the answer.
I don't believe you have.
No, we don't have
No.
Okay, that answers the question. So that's not an issue either. We're just talking about straight salary.
What's the hourly rate?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much,
Judge.
Judge. Have a nice evening.
Wait, Judge Schwartz is on tonight.
Oh, okay.
Respond from home.
Yeah, I know. What's that, Mike?
So you can actually respond from home.
Yeah. Okay, next item, amendments to real property tax law 467, 459C, and 458B.
Right. Supervisor, on this we have essentially 3 public hearings. They all concern updating your town code. You already have these exemptions in your town code, but they need to be updated consistent with the new numbers and dollar figures that are in your local law. So the resolutions for tonight is just to set the public hearings on the 3 amendments to the town code. And once we've done that, we'll then provide the board with copies of each local law with the changes that are in there. Ms. McDonald had worked with us to prepare the local laws. So we're just setting public hearings. We left a date blank on the resolution, depending on when you want to set it, but we just need a date and time for each public hearing. And there's one on each section of the town code. If you don't have them in front of you, I can...
So we could do all 3 public hearings in one night, correct?
Yeah, I think they're going to be relatively short. I don't anticipate there'll be much public comment on it, so you could set the 3 hearings for one evening.
So I'll make a motion to set the public hearing February 5th at 7:30.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
So sorry, so we're going to set 3 public hearings. I want to identify them separately, so you'll have a public hearing, and if you want to set them 5 minutes apart, that's fine. So for the record, that
Okay.
last motion
So
can be for section 467 amendment for senior citizen exemption.
So
we
that
can make-
one be at 7:30. Section 459C will be at 7:35, and 458B will be at 7:40. Need a second?
I'll second.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
That's the 5th, right?
so moved. Yes, February 5th.
Was that Rick who seconded that?
Yes.
I second. Yeah.
Okay, next item is the deed of dedication from Mikvah Hendel Miriam on 509 Forest Road. So I'm a little lost with this, to be honest with you. So I know that he had asked our secretary for the planning board and zoning board to place this on the agenda.
Yeah, these 2 documents are, part of the approval process, and the documents have been reviewed by our office. So tonight would be an authorization for you to execute the documents, and then the applicant would need to file them with the county and return them to the town.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Right.
Can you just give us the legal reason? Because I've never seen this before either.
What, the dedication?
Yeah, why we have to?
Well, one is an easement, and I think the documents are attached on this. And then the other one is concerning the roadway, so that the town has the ability to maintain the highway. I don't know, Mr. Sharon, if you're familiar with this. I think we had communicated at one point.
Yeah, that's Forest Ave right off of...
Yeah, Forest
Right,
Avenue,
right,
sorry.
yeah. It's a small road. Anything that has been done so far, he has had curb cut approval from me, with of course, a down payment. But maintaining the road's not going to be an issue as long as I don't have to go in there and do anything inside of that. It's going to be private.
What's the, oh, okay.
So the road widening gives the town highway superintendent the sufficient width to do whatever he needs to do, as he normally would with a town highway. So that's the easement part, which is the second document.
Okay, but does anybody have any plans that we can see on this? I mean, I'm looking at a piece of paper. I really don't know what I'm looking
I
at.
have no plans on that.
The planning board would have them. We can obtain the plans,
Yeah.
that this arises from, and you could see that and see where the locations are.
Okay, I think before approving this, I think we should see plans. What's that?
It's a site plan.
Part of the site plan approval. Yeah, so we can have the planning department provide the site plan. I'm assuming they probably have that in PDF to the board, so you can see where this is, and we can provide a little further explanation with it if you'd like.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a question, too. In the past, sometimes these roads have gone up to the county because the deeds are never recorded properly. How do we ensure that this is going to be recorded properly?
Well, when they record it, have to bring proof of the recording back to us, showing that they recorded it with the county. Secondly, now we can go online when it's recorded and see with the county's online service, what exactly was recorded. But typically, they would have a copy of whatever was filed with the county. That comes back to the town. after they file it. It's their obligation to file it and return it to us.
And that's kept in the records department with Mary
Yes.
Ellen?
Yeah, but normally we would review what comes back to the town to make sure it was filed properly with the county. And then again, we can follow up by going online to make sure that, and actually see the documents that are in the county system.
This would also be helpful to you guys and to the town of Monroe. It's a short road. It's not a very wide road anyway. Anything they do, they should better that road and improve the road anyway. So once these plans come into effect and you guys decide to, go ahead with this, I think you should have something in there documenting that, you're going to repave that surface of road and do it right, the whole way down. I think that would be beneficial to the town.
All right, so we can put this over until the next meeting, and I'll confer with Mr. Sherney, and we'll go over these points and get the site plan for the town board members.
Okay. Which essentially, 5.12, the road easement dedication, is part of this. So.
Yeah, 5.1 and 5.12.
Okay. We'll move on to 5.13, the Glenwood bond reduction request. Mary?
Yep, I've got some information. There's a Glenwood 1 and there's a Glenwood 2, which are basically schools for girls. And Glenwood 1, there just needs to be a little bit more inspection work done by the town engineer, who also happens to be the planning board engineer. And he sent a letter in, it's dated January 11th, and he's saying that the Glenwood 1 bond, for the amount of the work that he needs to be inspecting still, he only requires approximately $5,000. The balance, they would like transferred over to Glenwood 2, because they also need to have a bond for work that needs to be done there on their site and inspected. So I stopped by the planning board secretary today, and I checked to make sure there was enough money there. And there's actually, they gained interest of 20 cents. So they have $24,005.20, and what they want to do is leave $5,000 in Glenwood 1 and take the balance and bring it over to Glenwood 2. And the engineer said that's acceptable.
So the engineer's on board with the 5,000?
Yes. Yeah, and as I said, I made copies, so if you want to take them and pass it down, they do have the money's there plus 20 cents interest. So,
Councilman Bingham, do you know if it's a bond or is it what was posted for this? I know they mentioned bond in one of these, but
Letter of credit or bond?
Yeah, it's not a letter of credit.
is it cash or
Cash.
cash?
Okay, so Mary Ellen has the answer on that one.
There you go.
So I'd like to make a motion to allow the transfer of monies from Glenwood 1 to Glenwood 2, leaving $5,000 in Glenwood 1 account with the balance to be transferred over to Glenwood 2.
And the balance being $19,005.20.
And we would maybe make that subject to the applicant providing a draft document of some sort acknowledging the transfer and what's being done here and the reduction, so that they sign off on it.
Okay, so that would be added to the motion.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Second.
All right, Rick seconded it. Any other discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Okay, in your packet, you have a plan on the back part of the of item number 5.14. It's the proposed road for Overlook Estates. Essentially what happens is off of Overlook Road, there is a piece of property, if you're heading towards Lexington Hill, on the left-hand side, which will be torn down, and the access road into the development will be there. It's approximately a 170-foot long road that will be on that parcel, and it will open up into the village of Harriman. There are no sidewalks proposed in the development. We met with Mayor Welly and their Highway Superintendent Cherney and their Highway Superintendent John Mulligan. Since there's no sidewalks in there, it didn't make sense for Monroe to have sidewalks because it would essentially be a sidewalk to nowhere. So I would like to make a motion that we allow the development to go through without sidewalks in the town portion of Overlook Estates.
I have a question.
Sure.
This is actually a development that's in the village of Harriman, but it's going to connect through the town of Monroe.
Yes.
How are they going to plow their streets?
The streets will be plowed by, go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No,
you
go
have
ahead.
it.
No, you got it.
Village of Harriman will take care of that section of road.
Thank you.
And it's a circular development, so there's the only entrance.
We have one entrance. It's going to be, an area of course, of an intersection. It's going to come into there, from what you can see. And it's, for the village to actually, for us to go in and just stop plowing 100 feet into the roadway is silly, and then back out. So the village of Harriman already said, we have to go in there anyway. We just might as well plow that small section of road and take care of that, and you don't even have to make the right turn in there.
Thank you.
Okay, so I made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so move. Okay, we have the rules for public comment that are presented. There's no action needed on it, but I'll just go ahead with public comment. Mariana, if you want to read off.
Dan Burke.
Good evening, Dan Burke, Village of Monroe, Town of Monroe, and Elder Statesman. I'm very pleased that what you've done on Bailey Farm Road, that you stepped forward and took care of that. So thank you, Mr. Cherney. Thank you, Supervisor Cardone. That's an accomplishment that was undone for years, and you stepped right up and took care of it. I'm very proud of you. And I also want to compliment Mr. Cardone on the movie for veterans that he arranged with the Orange County Executive to show at TMAC. He understands and appreciates the potential for that building, and events like this where it's for all of Orange County, and it'll bring people right into Monroe. That's the potential that's there, and I like to see that further developed. And I want to welcome Mary Bingham. She ran in 2005, and without that vote from the other side of the highway, she would have been sitting here for years. So, but she has a great background, Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and she knows water inside and out. And if you can find ways of having our water districts that have excess water be able to sell them to neighboring developments, that'd be a great initiative. I hope you make water your portfolio. And welcome. I got a suggestion in regard to the theater. How about a citizens advisory committee? That's the kind of thing that would get people involved, maybe give you some new views. It would generate interest. I would volunteer to be on it. I would recommend you ask Mr. Mike Egan to be on it. Ask Lorraine Loning to be on it. See if Myrna Chemnitz has some free time. It would be very useful. And think it over and let me know. And in closing, we need a monthly report on the dogs. We still have dog operations, and we should know what's going on there. And I'd like to see a monthly report on the Mood and Sewer Commission, just to know what's going on there. And also consider a new contract for the solar farm. If the old one is bogged down, I'd like to hear exactly what happened and why it's not being built. And if it can't be built by that company, consider negotiating a new contract and get it up, because it would wipe out the town's electric bill. And I think the number was $3,000 a month. So the finances is there for it. So consider it carefully. And thank you very much, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Supervisor Cardone, we neglected to. We wanted to start this evening because Board Docs does have a timer that comes up on the board, so I apologize for the first speaker because we didn't click it quick enough and didn't want to bring it up without introducing it to the public. So on the screen will come up a timer, and at the end, at 30 seconds, will go red to let you know the 3 minutes is coming up. Do you want to set it at, how much time do you want to set it at?
3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay, so going with the next, I didn't want the next, any of the rest of the speakers to take it personally that we're doing this now. Veronica Connolly.
Good evening, board members. Excuse me, pardon me. I wanted to come up on the first reorg meeting to wish all of you good luck in your endeavors and sitting. A wise man once told me that the most important thing you can do is write a letter of thanks and handwrite it. So I would like to present with you some letters of thanks and some well wishes for you, if it's okay if I present it to the dais.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It didn't go up, so we're learning. We're learning as we go. So listen, when it goes up, somebody wave to us.
So just good luck, and I wish you well, and I know that you have some challenges ahead of you, but I know you're going to do a good job to represent all of us. So good luck to you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Connolly.
Mary Ellen.
Lorraine Loney.
Oh my gosh, don't start yet. I've been robbed.
We're going to give you a start all over. We found it.
Okay, good evening. Lorraine Loaning, Village of Monroe. I want to welcome Mary. You're going to do a great job. I'm going to be a little more lonely in the crowd here without you, but I know you're going to do awesome. I want to start on a good, happy note. After our last snowstorm, I was out and about really quickly. I happened to run into the mayor of Monroe, and I told him that they did a really great job. I would just like to tell you that I was out and about, and I had no worries on the road. Pretty much an hour or so after the snow stopped, the roads were drivable. So great job. Over the years, I've talked to the town board about having department heads at meetings. Sometimes it's hard to get to town hall, and some things just need a face-to-face. And I know a lot of town department heads balked at the idea because these meetings used to be marathons. They didn't want to come. But I was hoping that maybe on some sort of rotating basis that you guys could see that you could have department heads to address concerns of the citizens, maybe even before the meeting, a little 15-minute kind of thing. I think that would be a useful thing for the citizens to be able to bring any questions directly to department heads. And then it was really cool to see the little cheerleaders here this evening. But I also hope that this is something we move forward in and we recognize achievement in arts and academics, as well as sport, because while sport is good and fun, academics is, what we should be focusing on. So I hope that is part of the plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Goldstein.
Can I turn this so I can see the clock? So you have to come over there. Good evening, Mike Goldstein, resident and taxpayer of the town and the village. I'd like to get some clarification on your written public comments. On the first page, in two locations, one is the broad heading, and in rule number 3, you state that you must sign in.
It's supposed to be after.
Oh, it's supposed to be after?
We're going to make that
Okay.
correction.
And the other one I had a question on is possible motions from the floor. My understanding in Robert's Rules of Order, that is so that a member of the board can come in and introduce some new agenda items. Or do you mean this that anybody from the floor can introduce a motion?
No, it's a member from the board.
From the board. Okay, thank you.
Ward Brower?
Hit the button. Ward Brower, private citizen. Just on dovetail on what was said before. Before many people in this audience were even born, the Town of Monroe Town Board meetings, the second meeting of the month was known as the business meeting, and that department heads would make their reports. And it went so far as the public was even allowed to ask questions, and it never got out of hand. It's during the Doles administration that disappeared, and that ought to be reintroduced. Second thing is this public concerns. This was established in 1990 by Supervisor Fryricks, and for the next 12 years, he ran on the mantra, 3 to 5 minutes, no sign-up, no police, and no timer. And it was never abused, and there were some pretty contentious meetings that he presided over. But everybody knew they would get a shot. And by the way, the board did their best to answer their questions on the spot, and people respected that. If we could go back to that, it would be a lot more civilized. Ever since he left, after 12 years, as he wrote it into what we had obfuscation, people, having board members from prior administrations avoiding the question, answering everything else but the question, and the public responded. We saw how they responded. So we could return back to Fryricks' original concept. We wouldn't need this timer. We wouldn't have to have police here, and the public will be well served. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mike Egan?
Does my timer start when I start?
Yep.
Okay. Mike Egan, 9 Montauk Road. Just as a preface, it's a pleasure to be at a meeting that's well run, organized, and everybody is here for the right reason to get things done. So I appreciate it. Thank you. I do have 2 questions. One is concerning Etz Chaim. For me, at least, I will tell you that the cart is getting ahead of the horse, or the horse getting out of the cart, whatever that expression is. I would really love to have the overview picture of what we're doing here. I kind of have the feeling now that we're past talking about maybe we'll purchase it. Now we're purchasing it, and we're talking about plans. And I have not seen the big picture. And I know that in the previous board, I put that in writing, that request once. It was promised to me. I never got it. I know I've spoken to several of you individually about that. I think that you owe it to the citizens, especially coming off the prior board that went and sunk what is now over $2 million into the movie theater. And it's just sucking down $500,000 more every single year. So I request, before we go off on a path that I'm not suggesting is as difficult to turn into a positive asset as the movie theater is, but just in light of what happened with the movie theater, I'd ask you to put the plan together. Just say, here are the benefits, personnel or whatever. Here's the capital costs. Here's the operating cost changes, because we're going to move these people here, these people there. And then we're going to end up with these spaces, these offices, and here's what we think we'll do with them. And then everybody has the picture. So that's what I'm asking. Regarding the rules for public speaking, it seems that, and you just clarified it, that you have to sign up 15 minutes before, no later than 15 minutes into the meeting. And I just have a simple question of why. Why do that? It will have the impact of cutting off some people who would have otherwise wanted to speak. There are a lot of people that, for one reason or another, they'll get here 20 minutes after the meeting began. And so now they can't speak. Or something will come up in a meeting and they want to speak on it. And I can tell you, only Mr. Cologne and Mary Ellen were in these meetings, but, had that rule been in place in 2014 and 15, this town would be worse off today than it is, because it was the public here that came up at public session that challenged the bad things that were going on up here, and that galvanized the audience and the community. And I just ask you, why do that? You know, we do abridge, that would be an abridgment of free speech. Government does do that in the United States, but only for a really compelling reason. Like it says, you can't, no obscenity on television, right? You know, so you're abridging free speech there, but it's for a legitimate public interest purpose. And I would just ask you, what is the compelling public interest reason to cut it off like that? I just don't get it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone
That
else?
is all the speakers.
Okay. I'll comment first, if everybody's okay with that.
Go ahead. I'm after you.
Mr. Burke, thank you for the credit with regard to Bailey Farm Road, but it wasn't me. It was our highway super, Mayor Welly, and the town, and the village board of Harriman, along with their highway super, that initiated everything. As far as the veterans, once again, it was not me. It was County Executive Newhouse who came to me, asked for approval of it, and I put it out to our town board, so it was our town board who said, yeah, it's a great thing, let's do it. And we essentially took a poll over the phone individually so that we can get it done, because the movie was coming out. We hadn't procured it yet, and we needed to procure it. So it was the town board. It was not anything I did. Lorraine Lonick, I totally agree with your thoughts there with the meetings. I was scheduled to start department head meetings this Wednesday individually, not individually, as a group in town hall. Unfortunately, I kind of have been wavering on it only because Mary Ellen Beams had a death in her family, so I didn't want to go forward until I spoke to her, and she was at a conference today, so I didn't want to bring that up. And as far as your other point, what was the other point you made? Because I wrote a note here, and I'm forgetting what I wrote a note on. Yes, okay, exactly. And that's our intention. It's just that this happened recently, and I mean, we also would like to include those have been, whether it's a business or individual who has been beneficial to our community. If you have suggestions, please email them to me. Email them to Mary Ellen. Be happy to entertain them. I think it's a great idea. Mr. Brower, I understand what you're saying, but I will disagree with you with regard to the police being here. It wasn't because of a timer. It was because of a disruptive nature during the meeting. It had nothing to do with the timer. And Mike Egan, we have to develop a architectural plan before we can get a cost estimate. That's the next step. So without an architectural plan, we don't know what it's going to cost us. So that's what we're in the process of doing. That's the way our engineers and I think our board felt going forward, and that's where we're going. Because, you know, there's the court actually met with our engineer prior to it, and we looked at what it would cost to renovate the DeAngelis Hall, and it was almost $300,000, and it would not have been anything near what we can have here. So that's where we're going with that. That's where I feel we're going with that. We haven't made a decision yet whether to purchase it or not. That's why we extended the lease. But we're trying to fast track the cost estimates and the utilization, which is what this plan is doing. So hopefully that clarifies, you know, your concern there. That's all I have.
Did you want to go? Not yet.
I'm good.
All right. Let me go backwards a little bit. As far as the getting the movie here and recognizing our veterans, I'd like to say thank you to all of our veterans who have served this country, because in this, not only in this community but in this county, we have some of the highest amount of veterans that serve not only within the state but within the country on a per capita basis. So thank you, veterans.
Let me just add to that real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
So this was it was received so well that the first showing has sold out because you have to make reservations, so a second showing at 7:15 was added this afternoon. So.
And our veterans and our service personnel continue to serve overseas at great cost to themselves and their families. So to me, it's no small sacrifice. Sign-ups for the meeting. It was brought up by one of the speakers that we should allow people to sign up all the way throughout the meeting, and sometimes that can be a bit disruptive. Not greatly disruptive, but a bit. But many people, Mary Ellen, are we able to have people email or call in and put their names on the list prior to the meeting? Days before?
We could do that if you'd like.
So what I'm saying is this, is that we should be able to move that where you can do that even days before, A, and B, I think if there is a pressing issue to bring up at the microphone, that that should be asked by the board first, and then we can make a decision about the discussion. The reason a time limit was put on speakers was because some people don't know how to get to the point.
Need some board members.
More so board members than yes, and yes. So
former.
That does become an issue when people are up here and speaking for 20 minutes to 40 minutes to an hour, and we used to have that because there was no limitation, and it would go on, and one question would lead to another question, to another question, to another question. I think that if people really want real answers to their questions, they should submit those questions in advance so we can look it up. Or even if we don't have an answer for you, we're still looking into it. This question was asked, and we should address it that way. And I think that would address many of the issues, or I hope most of your concerns. As far as purchasing at time, as you know, our old town hall maybe was suitable in the 1930s, but government has expanded, like it or not. There's so many more things the government has to do and track, and there's so many more services, and not only that, there's so many more people in this town. There's a lot more people in this town. In fact, by capita, by population, we are the largest township in this county, and not necessarily on the largest amount of property. So there's a lot of things that have to be done. At time, at, what is it, 2.2?
2.7.
Is still a bargain compared to some townships that spent over $6 million for their building.
10.
And then some. So I think we're on the right track. I think your questions are notable, and they have to be addressed, and we're going to do our best to present to people what costs are going to be, what we're looking for. I'm sure we can put this map online so people can look it up. And of course, we are open to suggestions. It's not that all of the answers cannot be on this side of the dais. We depend on our populace to help us with solutions as well. So, of course, anytime you have a solution, a positive solution, an answer to a question, an answer to a problem, we're always willing to listen. At least I am. So I think that's very important as well. It's not a one-way street. It doesn't come from here to you. It's also comes from you to us, and we're here to listen as well. And that's all I have at this point. Gentlemen?
Mary?
Okay.
And board members, I should say. Pardon me.
Thank you for all the residents who came up and welcomed me to the town board. I will definitely appreciate all your comments and suggestions in the future, and I will work with you to get things done and accomplished. Regarding the water districts, Mr. Burke, it is a theoretical possibility to connect water districts, but the infrastructure costs are great. None of these water districts are right near each other. So if you start laying pipe and then you need bigger pumps and you need larger holding tanks, all those costs have to be included. So it would have to be a real cost-benefit analysis to see if that could work. That's one of the reasons I was leery with the Bald Hill Water District. That water district could also include the business park, but we don't have any figures, we don't have any numbers. So I'm not going to jump to make a water district or to expand or consolidate water districts without some hard facts. I want to thank again the highway superintendent. I have to get up rather early. I have one of those jobs that 365 days a year, and I hear his trucks coming up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm ready to go to work. So I agree with the residents. They do a great job. Regarding public comments, 3 minutes also helps us budget our time because we will be going into an executive session. So if we know there are 10 people, that's 30 minutes. You know, we're going to be planning our timeline for executive session and attorney-client as well.
We're working on it.
That's right, we're working on it. And had one more thing. And can't think of it right now, but thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Councilman McGinn.
Yeah, just one quick thing, or a couple quick things. Mrs. Conley, Ryan, thank you so much for the card. Very nice, and the other well wishes. I think Mr. Burke had some well wishes there, and some, Mr. Regan. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Regarding the big plan or the overview of what we'd like to do with the new town or the proposed new town hall. You know, obviously, like you said, once we have these cost estimates, we can start moving forward. But I think the intention of this board here is always to get everything under one roof. It's the most cost-effective thing we can do. Again, the price is, you know, if you looked at Woodbury when they were looking to do their town hall, it was $9 million or something like that. It was crazy. I got shot down by the voters. We're nowhere near that, thankfully, and I think it makes good sense, and then hopefully we can get those other buildings out of town hands, and that would be a good thing. 3-minute rule. You know, again, listen, that was put into place to run these meetings more efficiently, and if you know, if a issue came up that required further public comment, it would be something that I think we would certainly entertain after that, 15-minute mark. You know, we just can't have people constantly signing up and getting up because we do have a schedule to kind of keep here. So, listen, things have changed over, obviously, and we're looking to make this more efficient. Not just the whole town government, but how these meetings are ran. I think we're getting there, and no one wants to sit here till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning anymore. That was inhumane and ridiculous. And so that's we want to get away from that, and that's certainly the direction we're going to go in. But the public will always have an opportunity to speak. That's not going to be something that goes away. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Could I just grab the mic real quick?
Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
First of all, thank everybody. Thank you guys for thanking my guys and myself. I'm nothing without my men, as everybody knows that, anybody that's ever been a boss. With that being said, every snowstorm we have a plan, and we go with the plan the best we can. You can't predict what Mother Nature's going to do. But 90% of the time with a snowstorm, I'm going to be out there trying to do every 3 to 4 inches we're going to try to plow. And that doesn't mean we salt every time. So Lorraine hit it right on the head when she judged the snowstorm by the end of the snowstorm. So don't judge it during the middle or the beginning of a snowstorm. Judge it by the end results of the snowstorm, how the roads look and how everything came out. With that particular snowstorm, even though it was only 6 inches, we had 5 breakdowns of trucks, Okay, one truck had to be towed in. And then I had, you know, a 9-man crew, you know, trying to get back and get these trucks back on the road because we don't have an abundance of trucks. So with that being said, these trucks got to keep running. So you got guys crawling under these trucks with slush and nastiness dripping all over top of them just to fix hoses and stuff like that. So they do appreciate the praise and the thanks from the public. So, and as do I. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, John. Our county legislator, Pete Toohey's here. He'd like to say a few words.
Good evening. Peter Toohey, Monroe, District 7 legislator, new legislator. I want to give you a little update over the last few weeks. It's a short update. I haven't been on the job but several weeks, but I want to thank Supervisor Cardone and the entire board for letting me address you this evening and give you a little bit of an update. Over the last 2 weeks, I got sworn in a snowstorm with Mary Ellen. Thanks to Mary Ellen and Tony and Superintendent Sherney. There was a couple people around during the storm. The following week, I got my committee assignments, and I look forward to working with the board. I'm going to be on physical. I am on physical services, human services, and also health and mental health. So I've been to committee, statutory committee meetings already. I'm also going to. I'm waiting. I've got some things in the fire there to get appointed to some other subcommittees also. Again, Monroe is my district. When you're on the committees, you kind of go all around the county. So it's anything I can do to work with you guys. I look forward to working with you. I want to wish you all the best, and I want to thank you for bringing civility back to these meetings, you know. And like I said, it's only been 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, so there's not much more. So we'll be in touch, and you know, I'm still getting my communication set up. I don't have my phone or my tablet yet, but it's all coming. And next time, hopefully, I'll have business cards too for anybody that wants them. Just if anybody needs to get me for anything, you know. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best. And thanks, John, for the roads. You know? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pete.
Just get us money from the county. That's all we care about. Thank you.
I'm on it already.
Yep.
I know you are.
We need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session at this time.
Second?
Well, we have to say what it's for.
For?
Well, we have
pending litigation.
Pending litigation.
We also have the discussion of salary of a particular employee.
Yep.
We have a pending contract, non-union.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
IMAs.
IMAs.
So do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
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 Okay, so moved.
Good morning, everybody. Good evening.
Okay, I'll make a motion to come back into a regular meeting from executive session.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Okay, we need a motion to approve the supervisor signing the dog IMA with Woodbury.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second?
All right, who made that?
I did, Cologne.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going quick here, so.
Yeah, guys, just say your names when you're doing it, so this way they'll probably grab it quicker.
Okay. Call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay, so moved. We need a motion to approve the supervisor signing the garbage contract.
I'd like to make that motion,
No,
Cologne.
it's authorizing the attorney.
I'm sorry. Authorizing the attorney to make changes to the contract.
And had the clerk post the RFP.
As soon as possible.
And the clerk will post the RFP once it's signed.
I'd like to make that motion. That's Cologne.
Okay, that's Mr. Cologne.
I'll second it.
Seconded by
Councilman
Mr.
McGinn.
Councilman McGinn. Call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay, we need a motion to approve the intermunicipal agreement with Woodbury regarding Dial-A-Bus.
I'll make that motion that we approve the authorize the supervisor to sign the dial-up bus IMA
Amended.
with the town of Woodbury.
In a form acceptable to town council, because there's a couple of changes.
Right,
Yes.
in a form acceptable to town council.
Okay,
Okay.
I will second.
Seconded by
Councilwoman
Councilwoman
Bingham.
McGinn.
No.
Bingham, sorry.
Back to the table again?
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, boy.
So, call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay. We need a motion to approve Anne Marie Morris overseeing the boathouse and Monbassia Field scheduling boathouse activities that will come with a stipend of $5,000.
I'd like to make that motion.
That's
And
approved.
that includes overseeing scheduling and maintenance?
Scheduling and
Yes,
maintenance.
scheduling,
Those areas,
maintenance,
yeah.
and maintaining
Clarify
reports.
that?
Yep, maintaining reports associated with it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question of the board?
Talking to you, Mike, man.
Is my office still going to be responsible for the applications for the fields?
No.
No, so she's going to have them, and...
Well, maybe you'll have them, and they will pick them up from you, fill them out, and then
And-
she will deal with them.
Okay, so we'll have a direct her, perfect, perfect.
All right? Okay, we need Rick made the motion?
Yes.
Second by Councilman McGinn.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay, so moved. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I need a
Yes.
board member to adopt a motion to appoint Timothy Gorman as arbitrator in the matter of the Edwin Diaz grievance.
I'll
I'd
make
like-
that motion.
And I'd like to second that, Councilwoman Bingham.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay, so
Um,
moved.
And we just have the increase in the code enforcement budget line.
Right. Okay, so the code enforcement budget line will be increased to
9,500
9,500
from 5,000 to
from
9,500.
5,000. And that's a motion by Councilman McGinn,
Second by Cologne.
seconded by Councilman Cologne. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
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 Okay. So move. Nothing else?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Second. Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.